Ohio State currently has the number 2 ranked recruiting class in America, but the Buckeyes aren't finished. In this video, we're going to break down who are a few of the most important remaining targets. And here's a hint, they're in the trenches. We'll also cover 3 elite 2025 names that were on campus this weekend, and Buckeye fans need to know. But before we get going, hit the subscribe button to the On3 Recruits channel. Buckeye fans, we need you to be a part of it, so do me a favor, hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring on Alex Gleitman from Letterman Row. We're going to get right into it with a major flip target that was on campus for an official visit over the weekend. I'm talking defensive lineman Amaris Williams, committed to UF. Now, Alex, how are things looking coming out of this visit? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to be wary of kind of that post-visit high wearing off and seeing how things kind of settle in once you get home and you're away from all the the red carpet rollout and all the great treatment you get on an official visit. But from speaking on people to people on both sides of the coin here, I think this visit went as well as it possibly could have. I don't think Ohio State would have brought in Amaris Williams if they didn't feel like there was a realistic chance of flipping him. I don't think he would have taken this visit if he wasn't seriously considering Ohio State. Larry Johnson has done an excellent job recruiting both Williams and his family. They built that relationship over the last month or so. Brought him up for this visit. It was somewhat of a two-way interview. Obviously, Williams seeing if Ohio State is a better fit for him versus Florida, having just gotten the offer, but also Ohio State seeing how Williams fits in to that defensive line room, the culture overall within the program and what they're trying to build in Columbus. And all signs indicate, as I wrote in my Gleitman's Good inside scoop column from the weekend, that this was just a really good visit. I think the vibe coming off the visit is that things are trending toward Williams flipping from Florida to Ohio State. Obviously, nothing is done yet. There was no silent commitment or anything along those lines. Right. But I think the sentiment coming out of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center is that things are trending in a positive direction to sign Williams come December. I do know that outside of all the typical things of just comfort relationships, Larry Johnson, the position coach, on all sides of things and the fit in the scheme, that NIL certainly will be something that is going to be important in this decision. I think Ohio State feels that they have a competitive package plan for him once he gets to campus, and I'm sure Florida does as well. So we'll see how much that factors in, but I'm told that will be something to watch. But again, just summarizing, sentiment is positive toward Ohio State flipping Williams.
All right. Well, it sounds like the groundwork has been laid. Obviously, he did not flip. Now we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what shakes out between now and signing day. But that is one for Buckeye fans to keep an eye on. Now, let's hit on some top 2025 targets that were on campus already. Some of these names at the top of the board are starting to come off. So mainly we're talking about quarterback Devin Sanchez. He's a 5-star, the number 7 overall player in the entire country. He was on campus along with wide receiver Jamie French, who's committed to Alabama, the number 11 player in the country. And then another wide receiver in the top 100, Nashawn Montgomery out of South Florida, number 88 overall. So, Alex, let's start right there at the top. Devin Sanchez makes a big visit to Ohio State. He's from Texas. And now coming out, he is trending on the recruiting prediction machine to the Buckeyes. What are you hearing, and could this one end soon?
Yeah, I think, will it end soon? I think that's an interesting question to kind of continue to ponder. I think it will probably end sooner than maybe we thought going into the weekend, but I feel pretty good about Ohio State. I joined my colleague Matt Parker and Sam Spiegelman in putting in a recruiting prediction machine pick for Sanchez to Ohio State. I thought that they were in a good spot, that they had the edge over Alabama and Texas A&M heading into this weekend. But I think, coming with his parents and just getting to see that game and seeing how good the defense balled out, his relationship with Tim Walton, I think it, at the end of the day, it comes down to other than NIL in today's world, it comes down to comfort and relationships. And I think Ohio State has just done such a great job in those categories. Tim Walton, Perry Eliano, Ryan Day have just done such a good job with Devin Sanchez and his family. I believe this was at least the 3rd visit of his on his own dime. And he's pretty business-like approach with this recruitment, he and his family. And I think that after this weekend, I feel pretty good that they feel Ohio State is the place for him. And I think in their minds, it's kind of like, why drag it out if that's how we feel? Again, after coming off that visit high, getting home, digesting everything, talking about it. So I'm not saying anything is imminent, but I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if Devin Sanchez joins this class in the relative near future.
That would be another huge pickup. Buckeyes do pretty well in the state of Texas, especially when it comes to DB. So Devin Sanchez kind of fits that mold. All right, now there's two wide receivers I want to talk about. Jamie French, he's committed to Alabama. Then you got Nashawn Montgomery, both from the state of Florida. Does Brian Hartline does he have like a priority target here? Or are they both just everybody's welcome into this class if they want to come in?
Yeah, I think it's something that's been a topic of discussion on our board. 2025 wide receiver recruiting. Obviously, Brian Hartline, just the class and year after year. It's going to be a good class. It's just who makes up that class, and they have Javen Boggs in the class. He's one. I think they're going to be willing to add up to 3 more wide receivers for 4 total in this class of 2025. And who gets those spots? That's a great question. We're still trying to sort through that ourselves, but I think Jamie French is absolutely a guy that they would take in this class any day of the week. Sentiments definitely that is a possibility after this weekend. It's not nowhere close to a done deal. No one's saying he's moving off Alabama, anything along those lines. But
Right.
Ohio State was up there when he made his original decision. Getting him back on campus was big. And I can tell you without question that the door is open for that possibility. Nashawn Montgomery, I think Ohio State lead. I mean, he told me straight up Ohio State leads right now, but he's got Penn State, Florida State, Colorado visits to make the rest of this fall. And then he'd like to make a decision maybe in January. So we might, Ohio State might have to make a decision sooner versus later. I find it hard to believe that Ohio State would maybe say no to either of those guys. But at some point, they're in for a bunch of different guys in that class. They're going to have to say no to someone just like they have the last few years. So I need to dig into that a little bit more. But there's going to be someone for sure that wants in that's on the outside looking in to some extent.
Yeah, and Brian Hartline kind of sets the pace at wide receiver recruiting each year. Everybody wants to wait around and see who is Brian Hartline zeroing in on. So even though, hey, he's the number 88 player overall, you don't ever know, like, is this a Brian Hartline guy or do we just have him really highly ranked? So it's going to be a talented class. And like you said, Ohio State has room for 3 more, maybe taking a total of 4 in this class. So we'll see how it shakes out, but those are definitely names that Ohio State fans need to know. Now, those are for 2025. Moving back to 2024, maybe the most important target still left on the board is Jordan Seaton. He's our number 2 ranked offensive tackle in the country, 5-star out of IMG Academy, originally from the Maryland area, but I talked to Jordan Seaton, and I know that there's Ohio State interest on his end. You just don't hear about it a lot because he hasn't taken a visit yet. How much of a priority is Jordan Seaton on Ohio State's end, and when do you expect him on campus?
Yeah, I'd say he is the number 1 priority for the Ohio State. Offensive line recruiting has really been something that's been, I'd say, the weak point for Ohio State. If they don't win a national championship this year or the Big Ten, it's because, in my opinion, the offensive line talent just isn't good enough. And Greg Studrawa was, I think, a plus, positive, above average, good to good offensive line coach for Ohio State, but I would say he was a subpar, below average recruiter. And I think what you're seeing in their offensive line room right now is a credit to that. They did lose 3 guys to the NFL, at least one of them in Luke Whippler that they maybe didn't expect to lose early. But they lost 3 guys early to the NFL. That certainly didn't help, but the recruiting just hasn't been good enough. And Justin Fry has been trying to pick up the pieces. This is really his first full cycle as the Ohio State offensive line coach. And I think they have a good base in the Armstrong twins and Ian Moore. But what they're really missing is kind of that cornerstone, 5-star stud offensive lineman, a guy who can play tackle, which I think they feel Jordan Seaton can do for them. And so he's the number 1 priority. And they could have probably had him on campus for a number of their games so far this season. But I think that they feel that this is a recruitment where it's kind of the last impression may be the best impression. He's a very impressionable kid. I think a lot of the visits he comes off, you hear him gush about that team, just like he did with Oregon this past weekend. So I think Ohio State's tried to kick that can down the road to try to be as late of an official visit as they possibly can be. And they're going to do a pretty good job of that. November 11th, their night game against Michigan State. That's the game that he's supposed to take his official visit. It'll be another big, probably their last and next big recruiting weekend, given especially that it's a night game. A lot of teams are out of the playoffs already, potentially. So it's easy to get to for a lot of the national guys like Jordan Seaton. So that's going to be a huge opportunity for Ryan Day, for Justin Fry. They feel like they're right in the thick of things, and that's a guy that they have to bring home if they want to improve the talent on that offensive line room.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I think right now Ohio State would probably be my sleeper pick for Jordan Seaton, just because you hear a lot about the teams that he visits because of what you said. He is impressionable. He is emotional in a good way coming out of these visits. He takes it all in, and it makes an impact on him. But I do know Ohio State is kind of slow playing this thing, knowing what I just said. They're trying to get him on campus late to make that final impression. But people don't really talk about him right now, and I think that Ohio State should be mentioned as one of those top contenders for Seaton. All right, to end it, to wrap it up, I want to know, regardless of class, who do you think could be the next recruit to commit to Ohio State?
Yeah, I think it could be a race between two 2025 linebackers. I'm going to go with Eli Lee out of Akron Archbishop Hoban in Ohio. Grew up a Buckeye fan, got his offer at the beginning of the month, just visited for the Penn State game. I think at first he wanted to maybe wait a little bit, go through the process, but I think he's quickly realizing, why wait? Ohio State's the place I want to be. But the sleeper, another guy who visited this weekend, it was his first visit. I thought Ohio State maybe had the lead just from a relationship standpoint coming into the weekend, was Elijah Melendez out of Florida. I think without question, Ohio State is the leader coming off the visit this past weekend. I think, again, does the visit high wear off and he says, okay, we're going to actually slow things down, we're going to go through the process here? Or does he decide to just go ahead and pull the trigger, which I think is a real possibility? So one of those two guys, I'll go with Eli Lee, but either way, those are two linebackers that Ohio State's going to take in a 3 or maybe even 4 linebacker class in 2025.
All right, great stuff coming off a big visit weekend in Columbus. Alex Gleitman, thank you for dropping by today on the Inside Scoop. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.